The Law of One, Session 71, September 18, 1981.
Ra, I am Ra, and I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. We communicate now.
Questioner, could you first please give me the condition of the instrument?
Ra, I am Ra. It is as previously stated, with the exception of a slight improvement in the vital energy distortions. One may note to the support group, without infringement, that it is well to aid the instrument in the reminders that while physical complex distortions remain as they are, it is not advisable to use the increased vital energies for physical complex activities, as this will take a somewhat harsh toll.
Questioner, I have several different questions. In this session I hope to establish, by searching around with several different types of questions, a point of entry into an investigation that will be fruitful. I would first ask, is it possible to increase polarity without increasing Harv stability?
Ra, I am Ra. The connection between polarization and Harv stability is most important in third density harvest. In this density, an increase in the serving of others or the serving of self will almost inevitably increase the ability of an entity to enjoy a higher intensity of light. Thus in this density, we may say, it is hardly possible to polarize without increasing in Harv stability.
Questioner, this would probably be possible in the higher densities such as the fifth density. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. In fifth density harvest, polarization has very little to do with Harv stability.
Questioner, would you explain the concept of working with the unmanifested being in third density to create the evolution?
Ra, I am Ra. This is a many-layered question, in which stria we wish to expose is questionable. Please restate giving any further depth of information requested, if possible.
Questioner, define, please, the unmanifested being.
Ra, I am Ra. We may see that you wish to pursue the deeper stratum of information. We shall, therefore, answer in a certain way which does not exhaust the query but is designed to move beneath the outer teachings somewhat. The unmanifested being is, as we have said, that being which exists and does its work without reference to or aid from other selves. To move into this concept, you may see the inevitable connection between the unmanifested self and the metaphysical or time/space analog of the space/time self. The activities of meditation, contemplation, and what may be called the internal balancing of thoughts and reactions are those activities of the unmanifested self more closely aligned with the metaphysical self.
Questioner, as an entity goes through the death process in third density and finds itself in time/space, it finds itself in a different set of circumstances. Would you please describe the properties or circumstances of time/space and then the process of healing of incarnative experiences that some entities encounter?
Ra, I am Ra. Although this query is difficult to answer adequately due to the limitations of your space/time sound vibration complexes, we shall respond to the best of our ability. The hallmark of time/space is the inequity between time and space. In your space/time, the spatial orientation of material causes a tangible framework for illusion. In time/space, the inequity is upon the shoulders of that property known to you as time. This property renders entities and experiences intangible in a relative sense. In your framework, each particle or core vibration moves at a velocity which approaches what you call the speed of light from the direction of supraliminal velocities. Thus the time/space or metaphysical experience is that which is very finely tuned and, although an analog of space/time, lacking in its tangible characteristics. In these metaphysical planes there is a great deal of what you call time, which is used to review and re-review the biases and learn/teachings of a prior, as you would call it, space/time incarnation. The extreme fluidity of these regions makes it possible for much to be penetrated which must needs be absorbed before the process of healing of an entity may be accomplished. Each entity is located in a somewhat immobile state much as you are located in space/time in a somewhat immobile state in time. In this immobile space the entity has been placed by the form maker and higher self so that it may be in the proper configuration for learn/teaching that which it has received in the space/time incarnation. Depending upon this time/space locus there will be certain helpers which assist in this healing process. The process involves seeing in full the experience, seeing it against the backdrop of the mind/body/spirit complex total experience, forgiving the self for all missteps as regards the missed guideposts during the incarnation and, finally, the careful assessment of the next necessities for learning. This is done entirely by the higher self until an entity has become conscious in space/time of the process and means of spiritual evolution, at which time the entity will consciously take part in all decisions.
Questioner, is the process in positive time/space identical with the process in negative time/space for this healing?
Ra, I am Ra. The process in space/time of the forgiveness and acceptance is much like that in time/space in that the qualities of the process are analogous. However, while in space/time it is not possible to determine the course of events beyond the incarnation but only to correct present imbalances. In time/space, upon the other hand, it is not possible to correct any unbalanced actions but rather to perceive the imbalances and thusly forgive the self for that which is. The decisions then are made to set up the possibility/probabilities of correcting these imbalances in what you call future space/time experiences. The advantage of time/space is that of the fluidity of the grand overview. The advantage of space/time is that, working in darkness with a tiny candle, one may correct imbalances.
Questioner, if an entity has chosen the negative polarization, are the processes of healing and review similar for the negative path?
Ra, I am Ra. This is correct.
Questioner, are the processes that we are talking about processes that occur on many planets in our Milky Way galaxy, or do they occur on all planets, or what percentage?
Ra, I am Ra. These processes occur upon all planets which have given birth to sublogoi such as yourselves. The percentage of inhabited planets is approximately 10%.
Questioner, what percentage of stars, roughly, have planetary systems?
Ra, I am Ra. This is unimportant information, but harmless. Approximately 32% of stars have planets as you know them, while another 6% have some sort of clustering material which upon some densities might be inhabitable.
Questioner, well, this would tell me that roughly 3% of all stars have inhabited planets, which would just give a, shall I say, mind-boggling idea of the number of entities which. I assume then this process of evolution is in use throughout the known universe. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. This octave of infinite knowledge of the one creator is as it is throughout the one infinite creation, with variations programmed by sublogoi of what you call major galaxies and minor galaxies. These variations are not significant but may be compared to various regions of geographical location sporting various ways of pronouncing the same sound vibration complex or concept.
Questioner, then it seems to me from this that the sublogos such as our Sun uses free will to modify only slightly a much more general idea of created evolution, so that the general plan of created evolution, which seems then to be uniform throughout the one infinite creation, is for this process of the sublogoi to grow through the densities and, under the first distortion, find their way back to the original thought. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. This is correct.
Questioner, then each entity is on a path that leads to the one destination. This is like many roads which travel through many places but eventually merge into one large center. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. This is correct but somewhat wanting in depth of description. More applicable would be the thought that each entity contains within it all of the densities and subdensities of the octave, so that in each entity, no matter whither its choices lead it, its great internal blueprint is one with all others. Thusly its experiences will fall into the patterns of the journey back to the original logos. This is done through free will, but the materials from which choices can be made are one blueprint.
Questioner, you have made the statement that pure negativity acts as a gravity well, pulling all into it. I was wondering first if pure positivity has precisely the same effect. Could you answer that, please?
Ra, I am Ra. This is incorrect. Positivity has a much weaker effect due to the strong element of recognition of free will in any positivity approaching purity. Thus, although the negatively oriented entity may find it difficult to polarize negatively in the midst of such resounding harmony, it will not find it impossible. Upon the other hand, the negative polarization is one which does not accept the concept of the free will of other selves. Thusly, in a social complex whose negativity approaches purity, the pull upon other selves is constant. A positively oriented entity in such a situation would desire for other selves to have their free will, and thusly would find itself removed from its ability to exercise its own free will, for the free will of negatively oriented entities is bent upon conquest.
Questioner, could you please comment on the accuracy of this statement? I'm going to generally talk about the concept of magic and first define it as the ability to create changes in consciousness at will. Is this an acceptable definition?
Ra, I am Ra. This definition is acceptable in that it places upon the adept the burden it shall bear. It may be better understood by referring back to an earlier query, in your measurement, within this working having to do with the unmanifested self. In magic, one is working with one's unmanifested self in body, in mind, and in spirit, the mixture depending upon the nature of the working. These workings are facilitated by the enhancement of the activation of the indigo ray energy center. The indigo ray energy center is fed, as are all energy centers, by experience, but far more than the others is fed by what we have called the disciplines of the personality.
Questioner, I will state that the objective of a white magical ritual is to create a change in consciousness of a group. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. Not necessarily. It is possible for what you term white magic to be worked for the purpose of altering only the self or the place of working. This is done in the knowledge that to aid the self in polarization towards love and light is to aid the planetary vibration.
Questioner, the change in consciousness should result in a greater distortion towards service to others, toward unity with all, and toward knowing in order to serve. Is this correct, and are there any other desired results?
Ra, I am Ra. These are commendable phrases. The heart of white magic is the experience of the joy of union with the Creator. This joy will of necessity radiate throughout the life experience of the positive adept. It is for this reason that sexual magic is not restricted solely to the negatively oriented polarizing adepts, but when most carefully used has its place in high magic, as it, when correctly pursued, joins body, mind, and spirit with the one infinite Creator. Any purpose which you may frame should, we suggest, take into consideration this basic union with the one infinite Creator, for this union will result in service to others of necessity.
Questioner, there are, shall I say, certain rules of white magic. I will read these few that I have written, and I would like for you to comment on the philosophical basis or reasoning behind these and add to this list any of importance that I have neglected. First, a special place of working preferably constructed by the practitioners. Second, a signal or key such as a ring to summon the magical personality. Third, special clothing worn only for the workings. Fourth, a specific time of day. Fifth, a series of ritual sound vibratory complexes designed to create the desired mental distortion. Sixth, a group objective for each session. Would you comment on this list, please?
Ra, I am Ra. To comment upon this list is to play the mechanic which views the instruments of the orchestra and adjusts and tunes the instruments. You will note these are mechanical details. The art does not lie herein. The one item of least import is what you call the time of day. This is important in those experiential nexi wherein the entities search for the metaphysical experience without conscious control over the search. The repetition of workings gives this search structure. In this particular group the structure is available without the need for inevitable sameness of times of working. We may note that this regularity is always helpful.
Questioner, you stated in a previous session that Ra searched for some time to find a group such as this one. I would assume that this search was for the purpose of communicating the law of one. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. This is partially correct. We also, as we have said, wished to attempt to make reparation for distortions of this law set in motion by our naive actions of your past.
Questioner, can you tell me if we have covered the necessary material to this point to, if published, make the necessary reparations for the naive actions?
Ra, I am Ra. We mean no disrespect for your service, but we do not expect to make full reparations for these distortions. We may, however, offer our thoughts in the attempt. The attempt is far more important to us than the completeness of the result. The nature of your language is such that what is distorted cannot, to our knowledge, be fully undistort but only illuminated somewhat.
Questioner, when you say you searched for this group, what do you mean? What was your process of search? I ask this question to understand more the illusion of time and space.
Ra, I am Ra. Consider the process of one who sees the spectrograph of some complex of elements. It is a complex paint sample, let us say for ease of description. We have drawn you the needed elements for communication which had any chance of enduring. We compared our color chip to many individuals and groups over a long span of your time. Your spectrograph matches our sample. In response to your desire to see the relationship betwixt space/time and time/space, may we say that we conducted this search in time/space, for in this illusion one may quite readily see entities as vibratory complexes and groups as harmonics within vibratory complexes.
Questioner, I see the most important product of this communication being a vehicle of partial enlightenment for those incarnate now who have become aware of their part in their own evolutionary process. Am I correct in this assumption?
Ra, I am Ra. You are correct. We may note that this is the goal of all artifacts and experiences which entities may come into contact with, and is not only the property of Ra or this contact. We find that this instrument has neglected to continue to remind itself of the need for holding some portion of energy back for reserve. This is recommended as a portion of the inner program to be reinstated, as it will lengthen the number of workings we may have. This is acceptable to us. The transferred energy grows quite low. We must leave you shortly. Is there a brief query at this time?
Questioner, is there anything that we can do to improve the contact or make the instrument more comfortable?
Ra, I am Ra. You are conscientious. Remain most fastidious about the alignments of the appurtenances. We thank you. I am Ra. I leave you in the love and in the glorious light of the infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai.